Hi, so I'd like to show you now how to use the manual tracking and segmentation utility that I sent you guys. Um, so this is a MATLAB utility, and it's completely manual, nothing automatic here. So we're going to use it for the ground truth annotations in order to evaluate our algorithms. So first we want to go to the folder where we unzip the files, and you should have 3 files here. And we want to load it by writing in the command window tracking utility and press enter. So we get this GUI here, and we can put it into full screen so it'll be more convenient. Now the first thing we want to do is load the new data and start a new session. So we press new. It asks for us to insert the images. So we'll go to our input images and just select one of the images. In this folder, we have to have all of the images in the sequence. They all have to have identical names except for the time frame. There could be other files here, but the sequence has to be identical except for the time frame. And once we press open, it asks us what part in this file name is the indicates the time frame. So what we need to do is select the part that is indicates the time frame and replace it with parentheses \d plus. Now this will tell the computer that every file starting with collaborated 2-p01 dot something is part of the sequence, and this will indicate the time frame. Okay, now it asks us to save some mat file. This will help us in the future if we want to load this session again and continue from where we left off. Okay, so the first thing, now we see the first frame in the sequence, and the first thing I want to show you is how to navigate within the image and through the sequence. So there are a number of ways to do each thing. The first is using buttons. We have zoom in, zoom out buttons here, and we can zoom in and we can navigate with this hand right here, and we can zoom out. I think it's more convenient using the keyboard shortcut, so we can press Control or Command if you're on a Mac. So Control up and down lets us zoom in and out, and once we're zoomed in, we can navigate with the arrows left, right, up, and down using the arrows. You can still use this hand here, but I think that the arrows might be more convenient. So that's navigating within the image. Now we want to navigate through time. So there are 3 options. We can click this slide bar here, and we can see the frame start to move. We can select a specific frame and jump to it right here. Or again, keyboard shortcuts, we can press Shift and right to move forward, Shift left to move back. Okay, now that we know how to navigate, we can start tracking. So let's say I want to track this frame. So the default state is tracking, and it always starts with cell number 1. We'll see in a moment how we add cells, but we start with number 1, and all you need to do is click on the cell, preferably in the center, so that the tracking would be more accurate. Once I clicked, we see this green dot, which indicates this is the beginning of the track, and the green index of the cell that we're tracking. I can continue clicking. The frame, once I click, the frame automatically jumped to the next frame. So I click and click and click and click. now at some point this cell splits. So now I have two cells. I want to indicate the mitosis and I want to find these two cells. So again, there are two options, either press mitosis here or Control M with the keyboard. Once I press the button, I get this crosshairs and I need to select the two new cells. So I click once for the top cell and then move here and click second time for the bottom cell. I can continue clicking because theoretically the cell can split into more than two daughter cells. But once I'm done, I press enter. And now I see I have a new cell, 1.A1, and that's its starting point. We indexed our cells in this manner, which the first index is the base index. It's the index of the first cell in the sequence. So that was cell number 1. Now we have 1 dot something. The letter indicates a generation. So the daughter cells would be B1, B2, B3. And the granddaughters, the daughters would be A1, A2, and the granddaughters would be B1, B2, and the great-granddaughters C1, C2, and so on. So we have 1A1. Now we're tracking this cell, and we can continue. It was the top one, so we can continue tracking all the way. Now what happened with 1A2, the sister cell of this one? So it also appears here in the cell ID list, and it's in red since red indicates that we didn't track it yet. We can click 1A2 and it will take us to the last frame that we need to track for this cell. So this is the previous click, and now we need to click here because the cell moved. I always see the other cells that I already tracked, just in order to avoid confusion. Now I can go on like this until the end of the sequence. If it's more convenient to see the tracks without the numbers, I can always press this toggle button right here, which makes the indexes disappear. Sometimes it's more convenient. Now let's go to the end of this track right here, and let's continue tracking. But let's say I made a mistake and I clicked twice off of the track. This is an obvious mistake, but I want to go back and correct it. So I can always go back, again using the keyboard shortcuts, and I see the last vertex the last click is in red, and that's the last step that I did. I can always replace this click. So this is a correct click, but this isn't, and this isn't. So I can take this click and put it back here, and I can go back to this click and put it in place again. So now we have the correct click. This is also a little bit off. It's not in the middle. I can correct it, and also this one right here, and continue tracking. So I can go back in time to any time and fix the tracking. So I just want to continue tracking this cell until the end of the sequence, just in order to show how to add a new cell. So I can add a new cell at any time point, but if I'm in the middle of the sequence, I assume that I want to add a new cell because a new cell just entered the frame. But if, on the other hand, I'm at the last frame, then it's obvious I just want to continue to the next cell. So once I press new cell, I will jump back to the first frame and get to track a new cell. So now I'm at the last frame, frame number 72, and I press new cell, and as you can see, I jumped back to frame 1 and I can start tracking the second cell. So let's select this cell for tracking. So I can track this cell, and now it's cell number 2. I can continue on and track all of the cells. Now let's say I've done tracking all the cells and I want to segment a frame. So if I want to segment this frame, for instance, okay, what I need to do is press segmentation frame, segment frame, or keyboard shortcuts Control S. Now, once I press that, the tracks disappeared. I'm in segmentation mode. And if you noticed, a new button appeared, which is draw. And I have the cell I'm working on in green and the others in red. I can again make these indexes disappear if it's convenient. So now I'm working on segmenting frame number 2. So what I need to do is press draw, and I get this small crosshair, and I can just draw the outline of the cell. Okay, that's good. Now I want to move to cell number 1A1. So I can either select cell number 1A1 here, or I can use the keyboard shortcuts, which is Shift up and down, and Shift down brings me back to 1A2 and 1A1, and up brings me from 1A1 to 1A2 and back to 2. You can see that the cell I'm working on is always in green. So let's segment 1A2 for now, but I don't like the IDs which are blocking my view, so I'll get rid of them. I'm segmenting this one right here in green, and pressing draw is a little bit annoying, so I can just use the keyboard shortcut Control D, and I'll draw this cell. And now let's toggle between the cells. I want to go to this frame, to this cell, and again Control D, and let's say I missed. This isn't a really good segmentation, so I can always press the draw button, turn to clear button once I drew the cell. So I can either press clear and then draw again. I did that with the keyboard shortcuts, or I can press Control C and Control D again and do the nice segmentation here. Okay, so now I'm done with this frame because I segmented all the cells within the frame, and I can use again the keyboard shortcuts to go to another frame. So let's go to this frame right here. So here I have, let's show the IDs. I have cell number 1 and cell number 2. Let's toggle to cell number 1. And let's segment this cell, which is right here. And let's go to cell number 2. Control D to draw, Control C to clear, Shift up and down to toggle between cells, Shift left and right to toggle between time frames. Okay. Now we have these two frames segmented, and if we move through the sequence, we'll see the contours that we segmented. So let's say we want to stop here and continue later. We can press save, and it brings us back to that same file we saved, but we can either create a new one or overwrite it. So let's replace this one. Okay, and let's go back to tracking mode. So again, I press Control S to go back to tracking mode, and I want to go to the end of frame 1A2. So this is the last frame, the next frame that I need to track. I don't remember exactly which cell it was, so let's go one frame back, and I see, okay, so this is a cell that I was tracking, and let's continue tracking it. And let's say my computer crashed for some reason and I lost this whole thing. So I go back to MATLAB and load tracking utility again. And let's press load and choose the object that we tracked, that we saved previously. So now we see we have everything, the last place we saved, and we can go back to 1A2, and this is the last place that we saved, and we can continue tracking. So I would suggest you save regularly, just in order to reduce the number of errors. So now I'm toggling between cells using shift up and down, and every time I go to select a cell, it takes me to the last frame plus one, where I stop tracking. So let's go. This is cell number 2, and I see the place that this is where the track started, and this is where the track ended. So the cell went this way, and we can continue tracking the cell all the way to the end of the sequence. Now, if for some reason a cell entered the sequence in the middle, then while I'm in that frame, let's see here, we see this this cell just right down here entering the frame. So this is, let's say this is the first time we saw this cell, so we press the new cell or Control N button, and we get cell number 3, and then we can start clicking this. Notice that since it was in the middle of the sequence, then it didn't jump to the first frame. Okay, the cell went out of the frame, so let's leave it there. Okay, that's basically it. If we finish the whole thing and we're completely done, we can first save just to make sure that everything is ready, and we can create a CSV file. This select asks us where we want to create this where we want to create the CSV file, and let's just put it here in the same place. Now if I go to the folder where we saved, I have this folder was created, and I have two new inputs. One is seginfo, which is all the segmentation information for all the cells, and a little more information. And this CSV file helps us, is just all the clicks that we did for the tracking. So if I open this file here, so it's a tab delimited tab delimited text file where we have the cell ID, the center of the cell, the column and the row, the time frame, and the mother cell. If it's 0, that means that there is no mother cell. Here we see running IDs and not the indexed 1.a something b something. So we have cell number 1 and cell number. So cell number 1, we have it in 2 time frames. So sorry. So cell number 1 in time frame 1, and this is it's now number 4, but it actually is what we saw in the it was the 4th cell that we tracked, which was after 1.a1 and 1.a2. So this is cell 4, and they're both in the first frame, and they don't have mothers. And again, in the second frame, we see these two cells. In the third frame, fourth frame, fifth frame, and at some point in the 10th frame, the mitosis happens. So now we have cell number 2 and 3, and cells number 2 and 3 have a mother cell, and their mother cell is cell number 1. And again, we see these 3 cells in the sequence. And this goes on till frame 72. We see that we only tracked cell 2, which was 1A1. We only tracked this one throughout the sequence. At some point we stopped tracking 1A2 and cell number 2. So this holds all the information for reproducing the lineage. And that's it. If there's anything more that you need or think that would be more convenient for tracking and segmenting, just let me know. Hope this was clear. Bye.